Hello, everybody. Good afternoon. I hope you have been enjoying your lockdown. So, once again, I'm here, your friend, Adventure in Life, with another episode of reading. And this time, I'm reading with, of course, Ancient Tales, under Ancient Tales, and it is Astyages Revenge. So, today I'm going to read out the summary and the four levels of understanding of a text as well. So first of all, I begin with the summary. So here I go. Once Astyages, the king of Media, had a dream that his daughter Mundane pissed and it flooded his city and the whole Asia. When he knew the meaning of the dream, he married his daughter to a Persian called Cambyses. Again, the king had another dream. He saw that out of the private part of his daughter a vine grew and covered the whole Asia. The Magi, the dream interpreters, told the king that his grandchild would become king in his palace. Then the king called his pregnant daughter and kept her in custody. He planned to kill her child. After her son's birth, he called HARPHAGUS, the most faithful one of his tribe mate, and ordered him to kill the baby himself and bury him. But the king warned him not to choose others for this work. HARPHAGUS went home and decided not to kill the baby himself. The reasons were as follows. The baby was his own relative. The old sonless king's daughter was sure to wear the crown after his death. In this case, he himself would become the victim of her anger. He did not like to become the king's servant in a murder. Therefore, he chose Astyages' cowherd for this task. The cowherd's wife had given birth to a dead child. She advised her husband to expose it in the place of the royal child. And the royal child was brought up as the cowherd's son, who was later known as CYRUS. Once in a play, the child was made king by the children of the village. He did everything as a real king. He punished the rebel, Astyages' favorite officer, Artember's son. Then the king called the cowherd and his son to the palace and asked the boy why he had done so. The boy replied that he had to do as he had been made king by them. For this, he was ready to be punished. Astyages noticed that the boy was fearless, that he looked like himself, and that his exposed grandson might have been of the same age. The king became speechless. After he recovered, he threatened the cowherd to tell the truth. The cowherd told him the truth. Then the king called HARPHAGUS. He also had to tell the truth because the cowherd was there. Astyages had his anger and invited HARPHAGUS to dinner on that occasion. But before this, the king ordered HARPHAGUS to send his son to see his grandson. The king ordered his men to kill HARPHAGUS' son and to prepare varieties of food from his meat to serve HARPHAGUS. In the evening, after HARPHAGUS had eaten enough, the king's men came with a covered basket. He was asked to choose what he liked. HARPHAGUS uncovered it and saw the fingers and the head of his son. He did not saw his sadness and collected all the parts to bury them. When the Magi told the king that the dream had been fulfilled and that his grandson would not come for the second time to become king, he sent the boy to his parents in Persia. Harphagus later tried to make Cyrus' good friend so that he could take revenge on Astyages. Now, with the four levels of the reading of the text, Astyages' revenge, literal comprehension. When Astyages dreamed that his daughter Mundane pissed and flooded the whole Asia, being afraid, he married her to a foreigner, a Persian named Cambyses. Later, when he had another vision in which a vine grown out of the private part of his daughter had covered all of Asia, he brought her to his kingdom. The Magi had explained that his grandchild would become king in his place. Therefore, after Mundane gave birth to a son, the king sent Harphagus to expose the child, warning him not to trust anybody. But Harphagus entrusted it to a cowherd, who exposed his dead child and who brought up the royal child. When this boy was 10, he punished a high-ranking official's son when the children were playing. This enraged the father, and the cowherd and his son were taken to the palace. The king knew that the child was his grandson and called Harphagus, who told him the truth. Then the king arranged a ceremony in which he fed Harphagus his own son's flesh for disobeying the king, and later sent the grandchild to his parents, who received him very happily. Interpretation. Heterodotus, the writer of this story, told to a Greek audience who were free, but the Persians and Medes were not free. In this tale, Heterodotus is trying to tell his listeners that freedom of the people is a good thing. If Medes and Persians had been free, Astyages would not have courage to kill his grandson and to feed Harphagus his own son's flesh. This sort of event takes place only in a despotic country. People there are helpless and can't do anything against the ruler, even though the children are murdered by the ruler himself. Critical thinking. There are some points in the story with which we do not agree. Are there any people who are ready to marry their daughter to a foreigner just because of the dream? Similarly, do they kill their own blood? Is the society in which the human flesh is fed to the father called a civilized society? Are human beings so selfish? Assimilation. After reading this story, I learned the meaning of the commonplace saying that politics is a dirty game. In order to make his power safe, a ruler does anything. Power tends to corrupt, and absolute power corrupts absolutely. By reading about the disadvantage of absolute power, I came to know the value of freedom and democracy. Moreover, I also knew that man is basically a savage creature. There is no difference between Astyages and a modern powerful politician. He does anything to prolong his power. So that's all about the summary of Astyages along with 4 levels. I hope you have been enjoying my summaries and other videos as well. Do keep in touch for further entertainments from my part. So thank you.